Mike Owens here with Inside Fighting, joined today by John Gooden. John, we're in Manchester for UFC 304. How are things?
Good, yeah, excited. There's a big buzz around this one, being around the town and obviously the build up here in the UK. I'm excited to finally get into another big British pay-per-view.
What's your role throughout the course of the week and obviously through Fight Night?
So I come in as a teammate with Team Crossface because we got Sam Patterson from our gym. So I came down as a teammate for moral support on the train, but as soon as I got into fight week, I'm producing the pre-fight interviews. So I did that yesterday. Today we'll be just doing a little bit of prep, and then I'm doing the weigh-in show tomorrow, followed by the fan Q&A at the arena, and then on Saturday I'll be doing the social quick hits, like the backstage stuff. So kind of like that role. It's a bit more loose than the ESPN reporter. I'm not on the broadcast, which always hurts a little bit for these UK shows, but the UFC have really looked after me this year. I can't grumble about that, and it's a fun role as well. I don't have to wear a motor, just wear some civilian clothes.
I thought that was preferable.
Try and lose the bow tie. Truth be told, I think it's become too much of a thing. But no, I'm happy just to be here, play a role. I still get good seats, still get to be around the action. So yeah, looking forward to it.
The question I've got for you is, how much does your role or your coverage on Fight Night, how much is that affected by what you see throughout the course of the week on Fight Week? I mean, we've seen a couple of scuffles between Manel Kape and Muhammad Mokeav. We've seen the elevator incident between Leon Edwards and Belal Muhammad. Does that go into your coverage at all? Does that change anything on Saturday night for you?
If I was commentating, yes. If I was backstage reporting, yes. All of that, you have to. It's part of the story. We're telling the story of the fights, and you can't ignore that. You also can't presume that those watching at home are up to speed with everything, because not everyone is an ardent fan that's watching everything that goes on. So you have to try and pick. You don't have half an hour to build these things up necessarily. So you've got to try and pick the kind of things that are going to make the most difference. And it might even be the beef is real, these guys actually got into it, and apparently I think Manel's carrying an injury. So on the prep point, you might say, check out that injury. That was from earlier in the week. You have to find the right words to encapsulate what is truly going on.
100%. Do you think that changes anything about Fight Night? I mean, I spoke with Belal, and Belal has done a ton of media. Leon doesn't do too many, as he normally doesn't, but Belal has been very, very vocal about some of the things about Leon. Do you think that's an element of Belal trying to get in Leon's head, or do you look at Leon as not kind of comparable in those kinds of mind games?
You know what? Leon, I think, used to suffer from some of that and biting back and not really finding the right sort of quips and banter to answer back, and I'm going back to like Darren Till times, because before that it didn't really happen. But I feel like when he walked out and then he got the booze in London, I think he was a little bit pissed off. But he's now gone through issues with Kamaru. Kamaru was still digging at him. It wasn't, egregious and really horrible and toxic like Colby was. But I think when you go through a little bit more, your skin gets thicker and thicker, and then you realise that what's the use in me taking this on board? And I have to say, I've had a few interactions with Leon now and his team. I think he's just laughing a lot of it off. Belal is really going in on Leon, really going in, and I've watched and listened to some of these interviews, and I've been like, oh, that's a bit unnecessary. Oh, really? These guys are trying to. They say what they want to say, and Belal genuinely is very upset with the way that he feels he's been perceived by Team Edwards. So I don't know if a lot of this is just wasted energy on Belal's part, but whatever's happening is he's selling the fight, and we certainly know where he's coming from. And again, in building that picture of the fight and the story, it's another really interesting note.
UFC 304 goes down this weekend, guys. Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad, and we have an incredible offer for you from our partners over at DraftKings. Right now, if you're a DraftKings customer, go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and bet $5 on any bet you like, and receive $150 in bonus bets instantly. All you have to do is use promo code INSIDEFIGHTING. Enjoy. Talking about interesting notes, I caught up with John Anik a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him this point, and I want to ask you it. Can you draw a parallel between Leon's title opportunity against Kamaru Usman and Belal's title opportunity against Leon Edwards? Because they are both on this crazy long winning streak. They were the
hardcore fans saying they deserved it, the casual fans saying they were too bored or they didn't deserve it. There's something there, isn't there? There is a congruency between the two. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, there's obvious mathematics in there because of the run. You've got Belal flying the Palestinian flag, and obviously right now it's very important to have guys like Belal doing that and raising awareness. On the other side, we had Leon, and he was trying to fly the flag for the UK and training out of the UK, and saying it can be done from the UK and Birmingham, and obviously with his Jamaican roots as well, and holding back his story until midway through, or maybe the latter end of that run, right? I never knew Leon's story from early on because he wasn't willing to tell it. Then he suddenly did, and people got behind him. So I think we've seen some of that with Belal. We've gotten to know Belal in that regard as well. So yes, I agree. Obviously there are differences in style, but I think that Leon will deep down be sympathetic to Belal's rise and what he's had to do to get in this position.
Does Tom Aspinall, with the win on Saturday, fight John Jones, Stipe Miocic, or
I'm not sure. Is it any of those guys? Yeah, I don't know. That is really up in the air, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I know Tom likes to be active. There is a part of me that feels like John Jones really respects Curtis Blaydes. And if you get a win over Curtis Blaydes, I think that resonates harder with John Jones than a win over Pavlovich, because he was the new guy, and John perhaps didn't need to look at him. But he's seen Curtis Blaydes for a long time now. And then if he does want to continue, he's almost backed into a corner. So the most likely fight, I think I'm giving away who I believe will win out of Stipe and John. And I love Stipe as a human being and as a fighter as well, greatest heavyweight of all time. But then also, and this isn't like me, because I do like to see champions defend their titles and keep those divisions kind of a bit more linear. But you really have to look at the story of Alex Pereira and what he's done for this company. And if there's ever a man that deserves to have this outlier opportunity given, we were never talking about three-weight champions. The only time I ever spoke to a fighter about being a three-weight champion was Hamzat, when he was competing as a welterweight. And I thought, you know what, if there's a man that can with his style, it might be him. I didn't see this for Alex Pereira, but now I potentially do see him challenging for it. I think heavyweight against a big man like Tom Aspinall or a Curtis Blaydes is a real tall order. So I almost think I'd like to see that.
100%. Last one from me, John. I want to bring you back to UFC 204 when a young rising Leon Edwards got a win over, I believe, Albert Tumanov, if my memory serves me correctly, which in theory would suggest that the next Leon Edwards may or may not be fighting on this card. And what I mean by that is the next UK champion might be somewhere buried on this undercard, and in 7, 8, 9 years time we'll be talking about him as one of the best fighters in the world. I know you might have a little bit of bias with your team crossface roots with Sam Patterson, but if you had to give me a bet for who the next rising star is, that in let's say 5 years time, as we're all talking about on this card, who would that be?
Oh boy, Jesus, it's like picking your favourite child and all that, right? By the way, Leon Edwards blew out his back before that fight, and Tumanov was a boxer, and Leon couldn't strike because of his injuries, and he never did a lot of training for that. Took the guy down, took his back, choked him out. Just goes to show his versatility. Thought I'd get that in there. I mean, if you were looking at age groups and what happened and whatever went last night here at the hotel, which I just think is very unfortunate, I would have said Muhammad Mokeav. But you can't keep doing things like this at a company like this and causing issues and putting fights in jeopardy. If that hadn't happened, I would have quite confidently said, because of his age, because of his skills, I love Mo, and I think he's a fantastic mixed martial artist, best amateur we've ever seen in the sport so far. He could very easily be doing that. And I think that's probably as far as I would go right now. Of course I'd love to see Sam be that guy, but it's a long time away as well.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know. You caught me early in the morning.